They used to say Eric looked like a mistake God made twice, once in heaven and once on earth. He was strikingly tall, with skin like polished mahogany and a charm that could stop time. When he walked into a room, conversations lost their way. Women forgot their drinks, men straightened their ties. And Eric, he fed on it. He watched the lingering stares and the easy smiles, letting admiration cling to him like expensive perfume. At first, it was flattering. Then it became necessary. But he wasn't just a face. He was the powerhouse behind Aricor Materials Ltd. In the world of cement, iron rods, and tiles, his word was law. Developers scrambled for his time, contractors lived for his signature. But his business took him everywhere, one state today, another tomorrow. Distance gave him freedom, and freedom fed an ego that was already reaching for the clouds. Back home, Cynthia waited. She was the quiet strength in the house, graceful, composed, with instincts sharpened by years of marriage. Cynthia rarely interfered in Eric's business, but she read every contract he brought home, even the ones he never asked her to. She noticed the shifts, the departures that were too hurried, the returns that felt cold. When he told her he was leaving for Delta State for 2 months, claiming it was for us, she saw through the charm. "Another trip?" she asked, her voice flat. "Yes," Eric replied, his tone too casual. "I'll be there for about 2 months." She paused, the words hanging in the air between them. 2 months is a long time. He simply offered a reassuring smile. She adjusted his collar, looked him deeply in the eye, and asked him to call, not just text. He kissed her forehead and told her she worried too much. But as she watched him leave, her heart felt heavier than his suitcase. Delta State welcomed Eric exactly how he liked, with hunger. And then there was Zara. They met at a high-end gym amidst the scent of steel and ambition. She was the only one who didn't stare, and that was all it took to hook him. At the water dispenser, the game began. "You're new," she said casually, a slight tilt to her head. "And you noticed," he replied, a hint of a challenge in his tone. She laughed, a light, clear sound. Hard not to. "I'm Eric." "Zara," she said, extending her hand. Her grip was firm, confident. They stood there a second too long, eye contact stretching into something electric. "So," she said finally, breaking the spell, "what brings you to Delta?" "Business, building materials." "Ah," she nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. "So you build things?" "Yes," he smiled slowly, his gaze holding hers. "I do." They spoke more of business and building things. Zara was intelligent, independent, and she gave his ego exactly what it craved, adoration without responsibility. When she finally asked if there was a wife or a girlfriend in the picture, Eric didn't blink. No wife, no girlfriend, just work. The lie rolled off his tongue like silk. Their conversations became routine. After workouts, over smoothies, during evening walks, they started dating, late nights, hard kisses, and a promise that he'd be back for her birthday. A month later, while at dinner, Zara mentioned her birthday. "It's next week," she said. Eric leaned back, a confident smile playing on his lips. "I'll be back before then." "You promise?" she asked, a hopeful glint in her eyes. "I do." But when the day came, there was only silence. No call, no message, no knock. Zara sat on her bed staring at her phone, while her friend Miriam paced the room. "This is nonsense," Miriam snapped, her voice sharp with indignation. "If he wanted to come, he would." "He said he was busy." Zara's voice was barely a whisper. "Busy for 24 hours?" Miriam scoffed. Silence hung heavy in the air. Then Miriam said, "Go to him." Zara blinked. "What?" "If Muhammad won't come to the mountain must go to Muhammad," Miriam finished, her expression firm. Zara's heartbreak quickly curdled into a cold, hard resolve. Encouraged by her friend, she tracked a casual address she'd seen on a document and traveled to find him. What she found wasn't a busy businessman. She found Eric standing outside a beautiful home, his arm wrapped around Cynthia's waist with a look of intimate familiarity. The betrayal was absolute. She almost left, but pain has a way of demanding answers. She walked right up to the door and knocked. Cynthia opened the door, a polite but questioning look. "Yes?" Zara's voice shook, but her eyes held steady. "I'm so sorry. I don't know how else to say this, but your husband has been cheating on you with me." Cynthia stared at her stunned, then her expression hardened. "Leave my house." "I can prove it," Zara whispered desperately. "I said leave." Zara walked away in shame, the weight of her actions and Eric's deceit heavy on her. Cynthia told her to leave, but that night the silence of the house spoke volumes. She found the proof, hotel receipts and voice notes synced to an old tablet. She didn't scream, she didn't confront him. Instead, she found Zara. Two women, once strangers, sat in a room and realized they'd been played by the same man, and together they decided to play him better. The trap was set with the one thing Eric loved more than women: greed. It started with an email, an exclusive business opportunity to triple his investment in 60 days. Eric had signed worse deals before and survived. Luck had trained him to confuse confidence with wisdom. He was blinded by the prospect of becoming unstoppable. He didn't check the fine print. He didn't verify the company Northcrest Global Imports. He signed away 80% of his income in a heartbeat. The collapse was beautiful in its precision. A week later, Eric was in his office when his accountant entered with a grim expression. "Sir," she said quietly, "we have a problem." "What do you mean?" Eric asked, a hint of impatience in his voice. "I ran checks on Northcrest Global Imports," she continued, her voice steady with the news. "There's no registered company under that name. The account you sent the money to has been cleared. Everything is gone. The company never existed." The room spun, and for the first time in his life, Eric felt a cold crawl up his spine. Fear. The money was gone. His company was a ghost. At first, he told himself it was temporary. "I'll bounce back," he muttered. "I always do." But as the bills stacked and the bank stopped smiling, he became a shadow of himself. His phone, once a source of admiration, became a weapon. Each call was a new blow. "Sir, about our salaries." "Sir, the iron rod shipment." "Sir, the landlord of the warehouse is threatening legal action." The relentless stream of demands and threats pressed in on him, each one a sharp reminder of how quickly his empire was crumbling. At night, he sat alone in his study staring at spreadsheets that no longer obeyed him. The numbers mocked him. The same confidence that once filled boardrooms now evaporated under fluorescent lights. One by one, resignation letters came, polite at first, then cold, then final. Men who once called him chairman avoided his gaze. His company building, once alive with noise and ambition, began to sound hollow, like an abandoned shell. Desperation humbles men faster than wisdom ever could. Eric swallowed his pride and started calling contacts, old friends, former rivals, men he once looked down on. "Just a short-term partnership," he said repeatedly. "I'll repay everything." Some promised to get back to him, most didn't. Even Cynthia noticed. He stopped dressing sharply, his shoulders drooped, his charm dulled. At night, she watched him stare into nothing, a stranger occupying her husband's body. Then, a miracle restructuring proposal landed on his desk. He was drowning, so he grabbed the lifeline. Eric skimmed to the contract. His eyes jumped to the benefits, not the clauses. He just signed. Because drowning men don't read fine print. They grab. He signed again, handing over operational control of his entire empire just to stay afloat. The end came on a quiet afternoon. Eric sat in his living room clutching a glass of wine when he heard 2 steps of footsteps. He looked up to see Cynthia and Zara standing side by side, their expressions unreadable, and the air in the room was tense. Cynthia spoke first. Her voice was really calm. "You told me you were traveling. You didn't say you were building another life." Zara, arms crossed, added, "You told me you were single. Turns out you were just selfish." She smiled slowly, cruelly. "Oh, we understand perfectly." She stepped forward. "That first company," she said softly, "the one that ruined you?" Eric's breath hitched. "What do you mean?" he whispered. Cynthia continued, her voice steady like a judge delivering a verdict. And the second company, the one you signed your soul to, she paused. It's mine. Eric staggered backward, knocking over a chair. Zara leaned in. You used us, she said quietly, so we used what you loved more than us. He used them for his ego. They used him for his legacy. Days later, the letters arrived. Court notices, transfer of ownership, eviction warnings. His company, his name, was no longer his. The empire was gone. The cars were repossessed. He watched strangers walk through his former office, now theirs, discussing his empire as if he were already dead. Eric ended up in a bare apartment with no audience and no wine. He touched his chest, still sculpted, still firm, but his beauty was a currency that no longer bought anything.
Eric didn't lose everything by accident. He lost it the moment he chose deceit over loyalty and played with hearts.